What's the strongest weapon in Team Fortress 2? There are quite a few contenders. First things first, we have to look through the banned weapons list for competitive. If it's the strongest weapon in the game, that would mean it's unbalanced, and it's probably going to be banned from community competitive. There are two weapons that are universally banned in every type of competitive: the Criticola and the Short Circuit. Let's start there. The Criticola, upon consumption, the scout gains guaranteed mini crits for 8 seconds. If the scout attacks during this duration, they will be marked for death for 5 seconds, which also just makes them take mini crits themselves. That may not sound great, but it's absolutely busted. Scout can already deal a lot of damage in one shot, up to 105 damage. And if you combine that with mini crits, he can deal up to 141 damage in a single shot. This is problematic because it passes the maximum health threshold without overheal on light characters. So the scout can run in, one shot a light class, and scurry away. Or he can go for 2 kills and suicide, or he might even just go on a killing spree here if there's no sentries or anything, and sometimes it just works out that way. The Short Circuit's right click sends out a big energy ball and consumes 65 metal. This ball removes all projectiles in its path and deals 15 damage. It can also hit enemies multiple times, so it deals some decent damage, and when used with a coordinated team, you can just push into the enemy and suddenly their soldiers and Demoman are useless long enough for you to wipe their entire team out. So that's pretty OP and not fun to play against. It also has a left click function, which pretty much just spams and uses 5 metal. It does barely any damage. It is good for finding invisible spies though. OP weapons aren't necessarily banned though. Both teams can use the items anyways, so it wouldn't be unbalanced technically. That brings me to 2 more weapons I want to bring up: the Wrangler and the Disciplinary Action. The Wrangler, it's only banned in 6v6. Despite being unbelievably overpowered, I would have imagined that some other game modes would have banned this too. The Wrangler allows an engineer to take manual control of their sentry. This comes with an aim assist feature, so no, you won't miss too badly. And it has infinite range, although the bullets and rockets do suffer from damage fall off, which is dependent on where the engineer is, not where the sentry is, and bullet spread, which sentries normally don't have. But that alone would be a terrible ability. I would never use that. While controlling the sentry though, it also gains 66% damage resistance, which effectively makes a level 3 sentry have 648 health, a level 2 540 health, a level 1 450 health, and a mini sentry 300 health. How are you supposed to push that with the amount of damage a sentry will just dump into you? The only answer is either a huge group push or an uber charge. The reason why this is allowed in Highlander is apparently to make up for the game modes played being terrible. They're just too easy to push on due to respawn times, so an overpowered defense weapon is needed to make the modes playable. The Disciplinary Action, this is a melee weapon for soldier that allows the player to whip a teammate, providing both the soldier and that teammate with a speed boost. The player that was hit gets 2 seconds of speed boost, and the soldier providing it gets 3 seconds. The speed boost varies by class, from a minimum of 26.3% to a maximum of 40%. Any good competitive player will tell you that speed is the most vital stat for a class to be viable, and that makes this weapon completely game breaking. Despite that, we don't see this weapon used very often in Highlander matches, even though we definitely should. I attribute that to Highlander players being pretty terrible at the game. Pretty much every good competitive player plays 6v6, as it's just a superior game mode. There aren't that many competitive players left for Highlander. The weapon's downside is a 25% damage penalty, which doesn't matter in competitive due to random crits being disabled. It's just not very good to use your melee anyways, and it wouldn't be enough of a downside anyways with how big an upside it has. But that's not all. It has hidden stats. It has an additional 70% range, which makes it a lot easier to whip teammates and enemies alike, and is the furthest reaching melee weapon in the entire game, even beating an Islander. It's also bugged and can hit targets behind the player, allies and enemies alike. So it's safe to say it's obviously a fair weapon. The escape plan is so much better, and you should never use the disciplinary action. Man, Highlander players are stupid. If I had to choose a best weapon out of these for competitive play, I'd say the short circuit if it wasn't banned. It's just so strong for group pushes. And by the way, you can use it on Valve official competitive, but if you get high ranked in that, you're gonna get killed by spin botters every game anyways. And then for casual play, where everything is kind of chaotic and the team never pushes with you, I'd say the disciplinary action, as it can work well with just you and a medic, or if you're just rolling out, you can just hit a teammate who also just respawned, and you'll have a bit of a boost when you start rocket jumping. That's all. Like and sub, or I will steal your toes. You better do it.